Welcome to the virtual summer learning series elementary session on Esti-Mysteries. My name is Emily Bruning, and I am the elementary math and science specialist at the Indiana Department of Education. This slide deck is available for you on the Mathematics Standards page at doe.in.gov/standards/mathematics under Professional Learning. In this webinar, you will explore a high-quality math resource that is aligned to Indiana academic standards to improve the teaching and learning of mathematics for all students. You will also discover or refine ways to integrate Esti-Mysteries into your instructional routine, both virtually and in person. Implementation of an Esti-Mystery is very simple and involves little to no prep. Steve Wyborney is an award-winning educator, author, and creator of Esti-Mysteries and other great number sense routines. In an Esti-Mystery, students are shown an image and are tasked to determine the total number of objects or quantifiable resolution. Students are then given clues to narrow the possible outcomes. Finally, students are encouraged to justify their choices by determining which of the remaining possibilities are reasonable. A common complaint of math teachers is the students' lack of number sense. These help build number sense in students in a more organic way than what a textbook or box curriculum may offer. Esti-Mysteries have supports built in. Some Esti-Mysteries have a number chart available on the slide presentation as you navigate the task. This is an essential piece to this instructional routine. The visual representation of a number chart helps all students, but especially special populations. Even if a built-in number chart is unavailable, I highly recommend making one available to your students, whether it be providing a paper or digital one for independent use, a virtual one through video chat during remote learning, or a large poster in the classroom. Steve Wyborney is working to incorporate number charts on all of his new Esti-Mysteries. In the notes section of this slide, you will find many links to resources for digital supports. One of my favorites is toytheater.com. There are many options of number charts to fit any Esti-Mystery. There are colored counters to manipulate to help students visually represent their thinking. Keep this bookmarked, as this may come in handy later in the webinar. Steve Wyborney has also created resources. I am a proponent of the inverted hundreds chart. Why do you go down the chart when you go up in quantity? The alignment of quantitative and directional language promotes number sense using the 100 chart in this way. This kind of chart builds on students' conceptual understanding and sense-making, supporting student reasoning about quantity. It also aids special education students and English learner students to better understand the content and skills. Making Math Magic has created an Esti-Mystery recording sheet. You can find it in the notes section of the slide deck. This is a great resource to gather formative assessment data to inform your instructional decisions and differentiated groupings in your classroom. Let's try one. Remember the Toy Theater resource I mentioned earlier? You may want to use that as your hundreds chart as you work through this Esti-Mystery. All the Esti-Mysteries come in PowerPoint. You can upload the PowerPoint to Google Drive and the functionality is compatible. I encourage you to stop the webinar at any time to engage in the task. Notice the yellow box. In order for the reveal to work, you must go to the Slideshow tab and click from Current Slide. If in Google Slides, click View, then Present. You must be in presentation mode for the Esti-Mystery to work correctly. Show your students the picture and ask the initial question, how many kazoos are in the vase? Have your students write down their estimation to hold them accountable. As clues appear, students will use the information to determine if their answer is reasonable or if they need to adjust their estimate as the possibilities narrow to a smaller set. Students will also have the opportunity to discuss their reasoning and explain their choices. The teacher will then go through the clues one by one, giving students ample time to check for reasonableness, discuss the possibilities, and justify their choices. Give it a try. Clue number 1. The answer is an even number that is less than 60. This is where your 100 chart will come in handy. Students will cross out all odd numbers and any number over 60. Clue number 2. Count by tens to 50 and cross off all those numbers. Students will count by tens and mark off all those numbers on their hundreds chart. It really helps to see the leftover possibilities visually and creates opportunities to have conversations about patterns students are beginning to see. Clue number 3. Kazoo is spelled with 2 O's. However, the digit 2 is not in the answer. Students will mark off all the numbers left with a digit of 2. Again, make sure you are giving students ample time between clues to check reasonableness, discuss possibilities, and justify choices. Clue number 4. The answer does not include the digit 8. Students will mark off any number left with a digit of 8. The possibilities have significantly narrowed, and students will be able to have meaningful conversations about justifying their choices. Clue number 5. The answer does not include the digit 4. There are only 4 possible choices left. The last clue in the set can give you valuable information about what a student knows and doesn't know about the skills you're incorporating. Asking purposeful questions at this point can help inform your next instructional decisions. Now all the clues have been shared and students need to make their final estimation based on the information they've been given. Give students another opportunity to justify their choice. Now it's time to reveal the answer. The anticipation in your class will be palpable. When you click the red box, the answer will be revealed. The answer is 36 kazoos. Were you right? Were your students right? More than likely, not every student will get the answer right, and that's okay. Now is a great time to have meaningful discourse about why. How did they justify their answer? Where was their line of thinking? What were the strategies they used to make the choices they made? That was an Esti-Mystery. Your students will be thoroughly engaged and ready for more. On Steve's website, he organizes the tasks by levels. The levels will typically encompass a grade band, like level 100, grades K2. This is a great starting point if you're new to Esti-Mysteries. You can't discount lower or higher levels even if it's outside your grade level. A lower level may be great for introducing those to your students, and then you can increase the levels as students gain familiarity. So now you're ready to implement an Esti-Mystery. Here are some great ways to incorporate these into an in-person classroom setting. Use as a warm-up to strengthen number sense or to review new vocabulary. Students are engaged and the tasks are adaptable to any content because they are completely editable. I encourage you to vary these within the learning progression of your lesson, not only as a warm-up at the beginning of your lesson, but also as a brain break in the middle of an intense lesson where students may need a break. You're still incorporating the standard or skill, but in a more interactive and engaging way. You can also use these at the end of your lesson as a formative assessment to inform your instructional decisions for later lessons. To extend the learning, have students create their own set of clues. You can give students the content or provide a lesson on a new skill and have the students come up with the clues to match the content or objective. Teachers can also modify the clues to adapt to the current objective and skills, or even branch out and create your own Esti-Mysteries. What about virtually? An easy way to transform learning virtually with Esti-Mysteries is just how I presented it to you through a virtual video conferencing platform like this WebEx or Zoom. Another way is to create a quiz in your learning management system like Canvas or Google Classroom. The teacher could give students a clue each day, and students can respond through the built-in functionality of your LMS. Hyperdocs are becoming more popular. Teachers can create a digital document, such as a Google Doc, that incorporates hyperlinks to all the resources students need to complete the task. In this example, students can type in their responses and utilize the virtual manipulatives and number chart to help synthesize the information and inform their choices. You can leave the answer for students to reveal themselves or remove it completely. After they turn in their HyperDoc, you could send them the reveal. My favorite way to transform an Esti-Mystery is by Google Form. Much like the other ways, students navigate through the task in a similar fashion. They see the image and are asked to make an initial estimate. As they submit their answers, students get the first clue and continue revising their answer. After some choices are made, students will begin to see a visual representation of the eliminated numbers and the possibilities still left. Students can now adjust their estimation and continue the task. More choices are eliminated and students continue revising their choice. Students are prompted to make their final estimation and justification. They are then given the reveal and can check their work. The great thing about this is after they submit their work, you can access all of the data. What a great way to learn about your students' understanding and to inform your teaching. This would be a great follow-up in a virtual setting if you choose a live version for students that were unable to join the live class for them to still be involved in the lesson. Copyright gives exclusive rights to the original work. Any work that is copyrighted is owned by a specific person, and you must gain permission to use the work. Educational fair use is an exception. It provides limitations without seeking permission from the copyright. Teaching falls under educational fair use. In its simplest form, you can use work that is copyrighted as long as it is not for profit or commercial use, is suitably appropriate, the work stays intact and original to its use, and its intended use will not affect the copyrighted material's value. This does not discount credit. You must still source and give credit where it is due. For example, this flowchart was adapted with permission from art class with LMJ. She created an educational fair use flowchart that I wanted to adapt to support math teachers, so I reached out to her and was given permission to adapt and use the resource in this way. But I am giving her credit by linking the source on my document. Use the flowchart to figure out what path to take when using work from outside sources. Some basic rules of thumb include: if you do not personally create it, assume that it's copyrighted. If your use of the work will result in profit, distribution, or personal gain, you should always get permission first. If the work is not being used outside a class, you are typically safe, but it's always best to have the original resource cited and available. One could argue that each and every process standard is embedded in an Esti-Mystery, but there are some standouts. From reasoning and explaining. Process Standard 2. Reason abstractly and quantitatively. Mathematically proficient students make sense of quantities and their relationships in problem situations. Esti-Mysteries may throw in a curveball in the form of a die, domino, mirror, or bingo ball. These are not always relevant, so students are required to make sense of the information as they navigate the task. Process Standard 3. Construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. Mathematically proficient students understand and use stated assumptions, definitions, and previously established results in constructing arguments. They make conjectures and build a logical progression of statements to explore the truth of their conjectures. They organize their mathematical thinking, justify their conclusions, and communicate them to others. Mathematically proficient students participate and collaborate in a mathematics community. Esti-Mysteries build a student's ability to argue and reason proficiently. These tasks are accessible, lowering the floor for many students so they feel comfortable in joining the conversation. They listen or read the arguments of others, decide whether they make sense, and ask useful questions to clarify or improve the arguments. From habits of mind of a productive struggle mathematical thinker. Process Standard 1. Make sense of problems and persevere to solve them. Mathematically proficient students analyze givens, constraints, relationships, and goals. They continually ask themselves, does this make sense? And is my answer reasonable? Process Standard 6. Attend to precision. Mathematically proficient students communicate precisely with others. They use correct mathematical language in discussion and in their own reasoning. Indiana academic standards will change for every Esti-Mystery depending on the content it covers. For the one we tried, it was categorized as a level 200, grades 1 through 3. In Indiana, the content suggests it is a grade 1 or 2 task. However, the Kazoo task could be lowered to kindergarten, thinking of KNS1, KNS5, or KNS11. Students are counting within 100 by 5s and 10s, counting objects, and incorporating place value. The Kazoo task could also be brought up to grade 3, thinking of 3C2, because skip counting feeds into this standard. A great resource to help you with this is the Math Framework. The Math Framework offers a looking back and looking ahead section that shows you the vertical alignment of standards. Utilizing this part of the framework can help you choose tasks that best fit your students' needs and recognize the prior knowledge needed that can be used to build an understanding of the grade level target. Just like the process standards, one could argue all of the NCTM 8 effective teaching practices are embedded within an Esti-Mystery. There are some that are more significant to the task. Implement tasks that promote reasoning and problem solving. Students are continually being asked to adjust their answer as they navigate the task as new information is presented to inform their choices. Facilitate meaningful mathematical discourse. Esti-Mysteries promote students talking through their choices and possibilities, which strengthens their ability to justify their answers. Pose purposeful questions. The teacher can adjust the clues to introduce relevant content and develop intentional questions around that content to help inform their instruction. Elicit and use evidence of student thinking. Esti-Mysteries are a useful tool for formative assessment. Student responses can offer valuable information about what a student knows or does not know. So why Esti-Mysteries? These tasks help engage students in the content and make sense of their estimations rather than just guessing. Requiring students to justify what they know will help them be able to justify something they don't know. Esti-Mysteries are a great number routine and one of the easiest ones to implement. Be mindful that number routines can be an integral part of every math lesson. It shouldn't be something you do just for fun when you have extra time. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can scan the QR code by opening your iPhone camera and holding it up to the screen or using another QR reader app. You can also click the Here on the slide deck to fill out a short survey. Check out the notes on this slide for the link to the presentation. Contact information is also available. Feel free to email me or tweet at me anytime. I'd be happy to help. Thank you so much for your time and your dedication to Indiana students.